So Scaramouche, the Wanderer, is finally here. Now we have his kit, we've seen it in the live stream. And in this video, I'm going to be explaining it to you guys. I'm going to explain all of his talents, his passive, how he works, his roles, and stuff like that. So yeah, let's begin. Alright, so first of all, for his roles, he's just going to be a main DPS. He's simply made for that. He cannot really be used in pretty much any other role. Maybe as sub DPS, if you want to use him with his burst only, but that's not really how he's meant to be used. He also ascends with crit rate, which is pretty good for a DPS. So yeah, all of his kit is made for him to be used as an on-field main DPS. So starting off with his auto attacks, his normal auto attacks, like simple auto attacks, are not really going to be anything special. They're just going to be like Anemo Catalyst auto attacks. Nothing really special about them. You don't really want to use them in this stance. You just don't want to just like use his auto attacks. Normally, you'd want to get inside of his elemental skill and then use them. So yeah, his auto attacks talents is basically not really that good. Or at least you wouldn't really be using it as much. Now talking about his elemental skill is basically like a stance switch. When you press in your elemental skill, is going to do some initial damage and then you're going to switch the stance. It's called the Wind Favored. When you're inside of the Wind Favored, your auto attacks are going to switch. It's going to change your normal attacks into the Kujo Fushidan damage. It's basically just going to buff it, and also it's going to change your charge attacks to the Kujo Tufukai damage. The same thing is going to buff your damage, and it's also going to make them AoE, which is pretty good. And your charge attacks are not going to consume any stamina. So this like stance is basically just going to buff your auto attacks. But most importantly, it's going to make you float on the air, which is pretty cool. Hey, I mean, Venti, the Anemo Archon, he got mocked. Even he cannot fly. So it's going to give you like some initial points. It's basically like just stamina. And when you're in the air, you're going to be consuming this stamina. If you like sprint or like jump and try to go higher, it's going to consume even more stamina. So it's already like consuming, and when you sprint or jump, you're going to consume more stamina to do that. It's basically just like when you're swimming, you can say. When you're swimming, you're consuming stamina for just being in the water. But if you sprint or like hold the sprint button and try to like go faster, you're going to consume even more stamina. That's basically it. Obviously, when you consume all of the stamina you have, you're going to go out of the stance. Oh yeah, and also when you're inside of this stance, you cannot like do your plunging attacks. So you cannot do it like Zhao, like jump in, then go back and stuff like that. You cannot do that. You can only auto attack and charge attack. The cooldown for this elemental skill is going to be 6 seconds, which is pretty good. Usually it depends on like how much you sprint and stuff like that. But if you don't do that too much, you're probably going to have full uptime. If you don't sprint or anything, it's going to last in for a long time, maybe like 8 or 9 seconds. I'm not really sure. But yeah, you definitely can have full uptime on this stance. Now moving on his elemental burst, it's called the, I'm not even going to say what it's called because these names are getting too long. I'm not going to support Hoyoverse naming skills that long. So yeah, I'm just going to call it the burst. But yeah, your elemental burst is basically just going to deal damage. It's going to cost 60 energy and have a 15 seconds of cooldown. And when you press it, it's just going to deal like 5 instances of Anemo damage. And that's it. It's going to show in Scaramouche like stomping on enemies. I know a lot of motherfuckers are going to turn that into some weird things. But yeah, anyways, it's just going to basically deal damage and that's it. Nothing really special about his elemental burst. Now moving on to his passives. His first passive is that when you cast in your elemental skill, that first initial damage, if it contacts an element, it's going to give you a buff. So like the skill's damage, not the auto attacks damage you do after. If the skill's damage itself contacts an element, depending on what the element is, it's going to give the rest of the stance a buff. So all of the auto attacks and stuff like that you do after that, they're going to be buffed depending on which element you contacted when you did damage to your skill. So Hydro is going to increase your stamina basically. Pyro is going to increase your attack by 30%, which is very, very good. Cryo is going to increase your crit rate by 20%, which is incredibly good. And then Electro is going to help you out with energy. Every time you hit opponents, you're going to restore energy. And you can have up to 2 buffs in the same time. So if you contact like 2 elements, you can have 2 buffs. All of those are actually very, very good, especially the Pyro and the Cryo one. Obviously, it's going to give you attack and crit, which are very, very good. Even the Hydro one is going to give you more stamina, so it's going to allow you to like do more things. And also Electro is going to help you out gain more energy, which is pretty good. So yeah, it's definitely a very, very good passive, and it's going to make him much better. Now his second passive, it's basically when you're inside of his elemental skill stance, every time you hit opponents with your auto attacks or charge attacks, next time you dash in, you're going to have a chance to release like 4 arrows that are going to deal Anemo damage. They're going to deal 35% of your attack attack is damage, which is pretty good. And also you're not going to consume stamina when you dash in if this effect is activated. But if it didn't activate, the next time you dash in, you're going to have an increased chance of getting this buff. So the first time is going to be 16%. If it didn't happen, the next time you dash in, the chance is going to be increased by an additional 12%. So it's going to be 16 plus 12, which is 28. Next time 30% and so on until it activates, then you go back to 16%. So it's basically just, auto attack, dash. If it did activate, then good. If not, next time you're going to have an increased chance, then repeat auto attack, dash. If it activates, then good. If not, you're going to have an increased chance and so on. Until it activates, then you go back to the start, 16%, then you repeat. To be honest, I'm not really sure if this passive is going to be useful or not. It depends on a lot of things. I'm not really sure about like his rotations and stuff like that. And also I'm not sure if it's going to show you if you have the effect. Because if it's not going to show you, then you probably shouldn't take that risk. You dash in, you lose stamina and you do no damage. Your stance is going to end like quickly and stuff like that. So it's probably not worth it if they don't show you like a indicator that shows you that, okay, you have the passive now, you can dash. But if it's just like that, okay, do I have it or not? I dashed in, now I lost stamina and I didn't have any attacks. That's probably not going to be good and you shouldn't use that. The damage you gain is actually pretty decent, but I'm not really sure about that. We're gonna have to wait for him to release and see how it works and if it's worth using or not. But yeah, that's about it for the Wanderer or Scaramouche. I hope everyone understood how it works. It's pretty easy. He's not really that complicated. As I said, it's just gonna be like an on-field main DPS who flies. But yeah, that was the video, guys. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel. If you want to say anything, leave it in the comments, and see y'all in the next video. Peace.